Welcome back, guys, to the KOMPAK YouTube channel. If you guys have already seen the bikini posing haul video, this is going to be like a very different, well, a slightly similar version, but a slightly different version. I have Helen, the lovely Helen with me, who is a wellness queen, but has also done bikini. So I wanted to get her thoughts on two of the most popular styles that we have, the Majesty and the Cocktail, because they're super, super popular, especially in the wellness category. So I wanted to get her thoughts on basically both of them, and also the strapless version of the Majesty, and see how that makes any changes. So just give a quick run through of what competitions have you done, and what are the goals for this year as well.
So most of my competitions have always been bikini until last year, where I transitioned to wellness. And then my goal this year is to compete in the Atlas in America, which will be my third time competing. First time was as bikini, last time was wellness, and then this year is wellness as well.
So excited.
I am excited.
So you've had quite a few different shoots from me.
Yes.
Can you remember all the styles that you've ever had? I
won't lie, no. No, so before I met you, I had a strapless pair. And I don't think they actually do the exact same ones now. And I was always like strapless. And then I met you and you were like, have you ever tried a strap? And so we had the detachable straps, remember? It was the first thing like I think we got.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then I loved them. So then from then on I was like straps all the way, just purely because it felt more stable. Like there was no real like risk of your foot sliding, because sometimes if you get a bit sweaty, it can like slide and stuff. So yes, then I changed to straps. And then I was obsessed with the lip. And the lip shoe is much more narrow, and my feet actually aren't that narrow, and I just thought this is how the shoe is supposed to feel, like pain. And then again, Jasmine always proves me wrong, and that's when I moved over to Cocktail and then Majesty. So yeah.
That's a common thing with lip. I think we're like, what I call it the OG. Kind of like a few years ago, pretty much everyone was wearing a lip, and I think people went for a lip because of the aesthetic element
100%.
of it, without realising the platform's smaller, without realising that it is a bit more narrow.
It's the diamantes, that's what it is. It is the diamantes on it.
So at the moment, Majesty 508 DM, could you do a quick run through of some wellness posing and how you feel the Majesty helps you with your wellness posing?
Yes, absolutely. So I find with these, to start off with, is that the platform's nice and big. So I find it just gives you much more stability. The base is wider, again, much more stability, and the height is perfect. I find that when you've got a big platform and a high heel, it's just easier to walk in, as weird as that actually does sound, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll do a couple of poses. So here, I find that because I come up on my toe here, that it actually helps because it does have a flatter base, so I find that I can plant my toe much more and then push to actually tense my quad much, much more as well.
I love that shot on you as well. Okay.
And then again, like, to be honest, because they're quite stable when you are twisting, and you find that you do have like a really nice base for it, so you can come around. And then same again, really, like when you're twisting back all the time, you want quite a wide base because you're only like using a small amount of your actual foot. So you'll come around. You
can tell you're a posing coach, because I would not know how to like articulate that.
It is quite hard, but it's just, yeah, I think I'm so used to explaining to different things, especially bikini and wellness.
Yeah.
And again, for bikini, with you being able to plant the toe much more, it helps with that side pose in a lot of federations, so you're able to get that S shape that everyone wants as well.
I understand. Do you mind doing a back shot as well, and like explaining how the Majesty and potentially the strap does help you with that wellness back pose as well?
Yeah, so again, in the back pose, oops, see, I'm toppling. In the back pose, because you are pushing your weight through your heels, you'll find that you will naturally like wobble a little bit, so the straps do help. And then it just keeps you much more stable when you are pushing back.
Yeah, I found whenever I've tried to use the lip, I always try it just to remind myself what it feels like. But I always find with the lip, when your feet are so squashed together and then you're trying to spray them to then push and go back in your back pose. Like if you've got narrow feet, this isn't really a problem, but I do find anyone else who hasn't got narrow feet, when they try a lip that's narrow, their ability to really like spray their feet,
100%.
Then push through, it's like you just feel like something's stopping you, like being able to really fully plant it.
Because you've got to put your weight through your heels in that position to bring out as much definition as possible, it means that your feet have to be kind of as spread as they possibly can be. to stop you toppling, basically. Basically.
In terms of transitions then, I think you've gone over it, but like, do you find having a bigger platform helps with the transitions as well, like more stability element?
Yeah, 100%. I always think, like I said, that because the heel is quite high and the platform's quite high, it just gives you that stable element to be able to transition through poses much more confidently.
Yeah, because that's a common question we get as well, is people wanted to get like a 5-inch heel, for example, but they're not very confident with wearing heels typically. And they're like, oh, why are you still offering like a 5-inch heel to me when I've said like I'm not really well versed in it? It is because of that platform, guys. Like your distribution of weight is just way less, so you're not going to be feeling as like rocky. Yeah. That makes sense. And because the platform's flat, I find I'm less rocky with Majesty because you haven't got anything rocking you. Yeah,
literally, it's super flat. Like it's really nice, and because it is flat, like you're stable. So the only movement really is that small movement. Whereas in a lot of shoes, you can get that much more. Yeah. But you can also, like I say, plant really, really firmly and really like stable as well. So.
Yeah. 100%. So that was the Majesty 508 DM that Helen's tried. I'm now going to put her in the Cocktail 508 SDT. So we're going to do the same thing, doing some posing and feeling, like basically doing the pros and cons of that shoe, because I think Cocktail and Majesty are very, very similar. So let's go and do that. This is when Jake goes.
Yeah, you can get rid of that.
So Cocktail 508 SDT, it is the same heel height, so it's a 5-inch heel. The platform's ever so slightly less than the Majesty, and the platform, instead of it being flat, it's actually slightly like elevated, you could say. And Helen's literally just briefly said, oh, the Cocktails feel like a little bit more narrow. So to give it a little bit more context into that, before the Majesty and the Glory came into like the shoe range, the Cocktail was probably one of your best bets for having a 5-inch heel, which was going to give you a bit more width in comparison to the lip, whereas the Majesty and Glory is actually like a comfort width. That's what when I look on the supplier website, it says comfort width. So Cocktail is still a really good one for wider feet, but I'd say it's more like a normal to wider foot sort of one. So I talking more.
Yeah, I remember trying these on for the first time, like when they first came out, and thought these are really wide and I'm comfortable. But because there's now the Majesty and Glory, you're actually like, oh, actually, I can be more comfortable. I think I just used to cram my feet in such narrow shoes that I now just appreciate it so much more.
It's weird having so much freedom.
Yeah, like I just thought like you're supposed to be uncomfortable. Yeah. Like standard, like when you're in poses, basically. So just go through some quarter turns.
Be interested to see like what you find, because I know you still like the Cocktail as well, but
yeah,
in terms of this, what are we saying?
So again, like I do kind of like it because obviously, like you said, the base isn't flat, so it allows you to kind of come up there. But sometimes I just want to come up a bit higher, so I can really plant the toe to tense that leg. Because obviously you want to bring out the full quad. Like it's easy to tense your sweep, but you want to bring out the full quad. So to do that, you need to put your weight through your toes, and it is pretty difficult because of that lip at the end. So I would say it's a little bit more difficult to bring out as much definition.
Transition-wise, does it feel much different? Pretty much the same?
Pretty much the same, but again, I felt more stable in those. And again, that's quite easy because you are twisting, so that's much easier.
I find with the Cocktail and Majesty, there are only very slight differences.
Yeah, so it is only slight. But again, like, it's pretty, like, it is pretty similar, so yeah, I
what about in that back shot?
Back shot's weird because when you are, so like I said, you will put all weight through heels, but if you do slightly like put your weight slightly on your toes for a second to steady yourself, because it is a slope, you can lean forward and it just like topple you a bit more. So I would say definitely the others would be more suited.
Do you wear these more for like practice, posing practice?
More so, yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I have worn them on stage, but I just prefer personally Majesty now. But I have been through a few. So.
I just remember you in the lip days, man.
I know.
I remember going, I think the Cocktails would be good. Are you sure?
But in off season, like you couldn't fit, they wouldn't go on. You know, like they're that narrow, so your feet lose weight like everything else. Yes. And you in off season, like cramming them in, it's not normal. Yeah. But that's just me, because my feet are just slightly wider, that's all.
Out of curiosity, are they the same size? Cocktails and Majesties, you've got both size 6? Yeah, okay.
These feel more crammed in. Yeah, just a little bit, just a touch, but I notice it because I suppose because I've tried that many shoes on, so I do notice those little things.
You know your shoes. Right,
yes.
Last one we're gonna go through is, it's only like a slight different variation, but you see a lot of wellness girls do straps and strapless There's quite a lot of like different splits, so I thought it'd be interesting to get you in the strapless Majesty 501 to see the difference.
Especially when I never wear them.
Okay, so Majesty 501. This is a size 6 as well, the same as the other ones that Helen has tried. It's worth noting with the Majesty 501 and the Glory 501, the plastic bit here actually rises up a little bit higher in comparison to, say, if you were going to buy a Cocktail 501. So you should, in principle, hopefully, you should feel more like stability and coverage in a Majesty or a Glory style in comparison to, say, like a Lip 101 or something like that. So talk to us about these ones.
So I would agree, but I think the width of my feet is more Cocktail. So Cocktail without a strap would probably be something that would suit me more, whereas I feel like for these being strapless, they do feel a tad too wide, so they feel a little bit looser. Like, they're fine, I can manage them fine because I've paused for a long time, but maybe it's for a first timer who didn't have as wide feet, would maybe not go for strapless in these. But
so you would probably, you'd have preference potentially size down?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I would have to try them on, but yes, just to get that tighter feel.
Yeah.
Especially if you're used to straps, like you're used to feeling secure.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably it. I've not paused in strapless shoes for years, so nothing is going to feel as secure as straps.
That's a fair point actually, because I never wear straps. So I never wear strapless, like you would never see me in a strapless, but whenever I've like gone, right Jazz, let's do a bit of it, like just testing and trial like I always do, I always find I have to size, for me to actually be able to walk in a strapless heel, I have to size down just so it actually feels stuck to my feet, so I can completely like relate to that on quite a few levels.
Like, I feel fine, absolutely fine, but like I said, if it's show day and it's warm, they get slidey, like I could easily slide in and out of these, so that's the only thing. But, and again, it's just that ankle stability that I'm used to, but it is what you're used to. I started off in strapless and I thought, these are fine, these are perfect, I feel great. But then I went to straps and I felt even better,
So, do a quick posing, bit for wellness, and what are the differences if you can feel any without the straps?
So again, just like because you can feel your foot coming away from the actual shoe, it just feels like a bit different and a bit looser, and I think it's just mentally, but I don't think it actually affects the pause that much. Again, don't really feel any difference, but I find that in this position, I'm like really like scrunching my toes more to keep my shoe on.
I can see
which
it on
I'm not
this
used
leg.
to. Yeah. This, absolutely fine.
Because sometimes it's only just like tiny little differences, but this is when like these videos I find do help people just figure out those little tiny
that feels fine, like that actually feels totally fine. So, I don't know. Not a crazy difference other than the stability element that I am used to, but it's just me personally, so.
And you're still able to come up the front the same way, and it feels fine?
I am, but again, don't feel as much like that I can tense every part of that quad like I can with a strap.
Yeah.
So I know the shoe for me.
I love that, that's so interesting though, because I say, like, I'm never gonna be a wellness girl, obviously. So it is interesting to hear how these like different elements, and obviously you've done bikini and you've done wellness, you coach bikini and you coach wellness. So it's these fine details that if you ask someone that's maybe going from like bikini to wellness, listen to this and listen to what Helen's saying, because like it might actually be super helpful. If you are a wellness girl, then it's these tiny differences, and even like after this video, try some of your posing and see whether you can pick up these little tweaks or details that Helen's mentioned. So you're still a Majesty 508 girl? I am.
Not proud.
I've not converted. I managed to convert Jenny from a Lip to a Majesty 501 last time, so didn't do too bad. But I hope that has been an interesting video. Massive thank you to Helen for this as well, sharing your knowledge. But I will leave all Helen's details as well, so if you want to get in touch with her or contact her or just follow her journey to Atlas in December, then you can do. And we'll see you guys in the next video.